I think one of the hardest things about always being the strong one is that when your life finally falls apart, everyone looks at you like they're waiting to see how you're going to put it back together. That's exactly how I felt when my son became disabled. I had always been the person who figured things out. So in the beginning, I felt like all eyes were on me. Like, what's she gonna do now? What's her next move? How's she gonna get herself out of this one? But this time, this time I couldn't. I mean, there was no fixing this. There was no going back to the life that we had before. And that's when I started realizing something about being called strong. Sometimes being the strong one doesn't mean you're handling everything well. Sometimes it just means everybody has gotten used to watching you carry it. I mean, I think people mean well when they say things like, you're so strong. Um, I don't know how you do it. I could never do what you do. I know it's supposed to be a compliment, but after becoming a caregiver, those words start to feel different to me. Um, because sometimes I don't want to be strong. Sometimes I want somebody else to say, I got it. You don't have to handle this. And more importantly, you don't have to handle this alone. I think that's the part people don't always understand. A lot of caregivers didn't wake up one morning and decide, I'm going to become this incredibly strong person. I mean, life just happened. In my case, my son became disabled. And there wasn't a meeting where somebody asked me if I was prepared for what came next. There wasn't a training period. There wasn't time to figure out whether I was even emotionally ready. I mean, I'm his mother, so I did what needed to be done. And honestly, that's what a lot of people call strength has been for me. Doing what doing what needed to be done because it needed to be done. Before all of this, I was used to being the person who figured things out. If something went wrong, I figured out the next move. If there was a problem, I found a solution. Being a single mom of three, that was life for me. It was who I was. It was who I've always been. So I put a lot of pressure on myself in the beginning. I felt like I needed to have an answer. I needed the how, the when, the why. I needed a plan. I needed to show everybody and probably myself that somehow I was going to figure this out too. But some things aren't problems you solve, I guess. I learned that the hard way. Sometimes life changes and you have to learn to actually live inside the change. You have to adjust, you have to adapt. And not saying that that was, well, I am. It was different for me. I wasn't figuring out how to get us back to our old life. I tried, but I was figuring out how to build a life around what had happened. You know, when people see you handling things for years, I think they start seeing the strength and stop seeing what the strength cost you. Being strong can look like making phone calls when you're exhausted, sitting in doctor's appointments and trying to remember every question you need to answer, advocating at school, keeping up with medications, appointments, paperwork, everything else that comes with caring for another person. It wasn't just routine visits anymore, like annual typical visits. It was specialists and therapies. So then you still have regular life waiting on you. Bills still have to be paid. The house still needs attention. Other people still need you. And somehow you're supposed to take care of yourself in there too. That's the part people don't always see. They see that you handled it. They don't see what it took out of you to handle it. I think one of the hardest things about being the person who always figures things out is that eventually people just expect you to do it. She'll handle it. She always does. And most of the time, yeah, I probably will. But, you know, being capable of carrying something doesn't mean it isn't heavy. That's something I've learned myself. Just because I can do something doesn't mean I should always have to do it alone. And I think that's why being called strong can hit differently when you're a caregiver. Because sometimes you're so strong, starts to feel like you've got it. And sometimes I don't. Sometimes I need help too. And this is something that I'm learning more. I'm a mother. I'm a caregiver. I'm an advocate. But I'm also still a woman with a life that I want to live. I have things I want to build, places I want to go, things I want to experience. I have dreams that have absolutely nothing to do with caregiving. And wanting those things doesn't take anything away from how much I love my son. It just means that there's still a person underneath all of these responsibilities. I think caregivers sometimes forget that about themselves. We spend so much time making sure everybody else is okay that eventually we have to ask, what do I still want for my life? Um, so the next time you tell a caregiver you're so strong, understand that sometimes you're looking at somebody who didn't have another option. They became strong because life required it. And I'm not saying don't tell somebody they're strong. Sometimes we need to hear that too. Um, but don't let acknowledging someone's strength become a reason to assume that they don't need support. Um, Maybe sometimes instead of saying, I don't know how you do it, maybe take the time and ask, what can I take off your plate? Because sometimes the strongest person in the room is also the person who could really use somebody else to carry something. So that's one of the parts of caregiving that I don't believe we talk about often. There's a lot of assumptions, I feel like there is to caregiving. So I'm going to start talking about them because caregivers are people too. We hurt, we dream, we have goals. There's a whole lot that happens behind You're So Strong that nobody ever sees.